Kia ora tātou, nau mai, haere mai. Good morning, everybody, Morena, and welcome to our council meeting of Wednesday, the 2nd of April 2025. If I could ask our Deputy Mayor to open with karakia.
Tēnā koe o worship o te rā, tēnā tātou I hui hui mai nei I tēnei rā ngā mihi. Tūtawa mai I runga, tūtawa mai I raro, tūtawa mai I roto, tūtawa mai I waho. Kia tau ai te mauri tū, te mauri ora, ki te katoa, haumi e, hui e, tai ki e. Tēnā koe o worship, kia ora tātou.
Kia ora, thank you. Again, warm welcome to everybody and those online as well. The meeting is being recorded, being live streamed on our council's YouTube channel. In terms of health and safety procedures, very standard in terms of, unlike the event of an emergency, we will exit via the green signs. We evacuate to the assembly area, which is the clock tower, and Te Marawahine, the square. In terms of smoking, it's prohibited here, and you'll need to do that outside, away from the building. Unlike the event of needing a defibrillator, that is located downstairs in the customer services area on the ground floor. Please, if there's any incidences, please report those to our committee administration. We have a number of people online today, and we have Councillors Karen Naylor and Councillor Leonie Harpiter to be joined a little bit later by Councillor Rachel Bowen. Unfortunately, we're having some tech issues. They can see us and hear us, and we can see them, but unfortunately we cannot communicate. We've got no audio with them, so we'll get through that via messaging, but just bear with us, please, while we try and get that sorted by later in the day. All right, we'll go through to number 2 on our order of business, and that is around recommendation around apologies, and the council received apologies from Councillor Rachel Bowen for late arrival and for Councillor Leonie Harpiter for early departure. I'm happy to move those, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, and if there's no comments, we will vote, please. And as passed, 15 votes for and none against. Thank you. All right. In terms of declarations of interest, I haven't received any, and there's nothing from the floor or online. Public comment, again, I haven't received any. There's nothing from the gallery. Right, we'll go through to presentations, and we have one from Massey University Foundation, and I'd like to invite Mitch Murdoch, who's the director of the foundation. Kia ora, welcome Mitch, and you have 10 minutes to speak to us on your exciting project.
Thank you. I'm just going to set my stopwatch so I know, because otherwise I won't squeeze it all in.
All right.
Ina irina marina raurenga tira mai, tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou. Thank you very much, PNCC, for having me here today. I really wanted to come to update you on our Te Waimana o Turitea project and to say thank you, particularly for your contribution to that, because the City Council has supported that with funds which have helped us to develop a master plan for that garden. And I wanted to just show you that garden and some parts of the plan that we've developed, so you know what we've done with your funding, but also talk to you about the next steps for this project as well. So the project runs, you can see that slide in front of you, it's about a 4.5 kilometre riparian strip along the Turitea stream. And we've divided that into 7 zones. The first zone, which is at the confluence of the Turitea and the Manawatu, is the filtration zone, which is more or less a wetlands area. And that will bring people in from that river walkway, and they can actually complete a circuit walking back along Poultry Farm Road and across Te Ara Kotahi footbridge. The next zone along very quickly is you can see there's a forest zone, and we've actually developed a treetop walkway that comes down from Craig Lockhart, which is an historic house that we have up there that we'd like to restore. And we're using existing infrastructure wherever we can in terms of car parking and roads into the garden. But that would, I think that would be quite a tourist attraction, and we've worked closely with Rangitani to develop that, and we've called that Te Ara Ranganui, so it's the pathway of Ranganui, and we have the Mara of Papatanuku at the bottom, and of course it's the story of Rangi and Papa as we go forward. The strip, which you can just see along the side of the road, the biodome zone, say that quickly 3 times, it's difficult, is a zone where we're looking at blue-green runoff off the road, and also at Massey University we have the Dame Ella Campbell Herbarium, as well as the New Zealand Seed Bank, which we think are fantastic assets for this region, for the university and for this area. And we'd like to see those showcased and that area developed into an area where we propagate plants. All groups can come in and do that, but also it's really important that the driving past it, we get lots and lots of views. So for people entering Palmerston North, it's very, very visual. So we think we can use that. As you come into Massey, we've got the area that many of you will know where we have the cherry tree blossoms. We'd like to turn that into a garden of international, an area of international gardens. Then we have Bledisloe Park, which of course is your area and is beautiful in its own right at the moment. And that flows into the Massey Arboretum, where we have some amazing specimen trees. And we want to develop that area with some amphitheatres within it. There's an old oxbow off the stream in there that we want to dig out, use the diggings to reinforce the stock bank and to create some amphitheatres that can be used for public displays, shows, things of that nature. Then we have a systematics garden, which is more of a teaching tool. It's used in plant and phylum genus species, and it's used for plant ecologists, and school groups from all over the country will use that. And there's a planting all the way out to Old West Road, which is planted more in natives, and it's where people can sort of walk through the plantings of New Zealand, and we're proposing that the current Aotearoa trail gets dropped down just slightly from the top of the hill and then goes through that garden. That's a very brief run through of what we're doing, and I'm going to whip you through, because I've used 3 minutes already, super quickly, the filtration zone up close, which is that first zone down by the river. That's looking from the eel platform, so it's a series of pathways with some teaching platforms scattered along it, and I think school groups from all around New Zealand will come in for this. We even have the camping ground on the other side of the river, which I think that groups can, I can imagine them walking along and bringing small children a lot of pond dipping. So you can see the escarpment on the right-hand side, if you know that area, and then in the distance you can see the ag research buildings as they appear. The idea is that we plant research gardens looking at flood mitigation, and that the research is then available and visible to the public, which showcases Massey, but also showcases this region's ecology. It's Dairy Farm 1 in the background. Huge scope there to look at how we mitigate runoff from farms into waterways. So I think the learnings that we can get from some of these areas that can be promulgated throughout New Zealand and the world, I think would be good. I think this will be a massive draw card for this region. So I'm going to go super fast because we're now at 4 minutes. But you sort of get the idea. These fly-throughs take a minute. And that's a teaching platform that you can see there. I'm going to skip it on, actually, because this takes another few seconds before it finishes. So, sunset. There we go. This is Te Ara Ranganui, the forest zone. Slightly more expensive zone to build, but particularly sexy. You can see that coming down the hill. There's a treetop walkway coming from Craig Lockhart. There's He Mara Papatanuku at the bottom. It's a walled garden where we can plant different treasures around the motu. You can see the scale of that. In the background is the Geoffrey Perrin old wool shed, which I think we've budgeted to turn that into a coffee shop, because if you have a walkway, you must have a coffee shop. But again, it's about drawing people in. And we've designed this, I think the scope to light this structure during Puanga or Matariki is massive. And again, I think as a draw card into this region. For the university, it's about getting into treetop ecology and using this as the classroom of the 21st century to bring students in. But this, for the Manawatu and for Palmerston North, I think is a wonderful structure. Again, we've made it focus. We're trying to draw the connection between Rangi and Papa. And the scope here to tell Rangitani stories throughout this project is immense. And we've been working closely with them because the artwork that we could do throughout this would be, I think, also quite extraordinary. So again, you see the picture of that one, and I'm going to shut us on just a little bit. We can get through this. The other zone that we have work through is the Arboretum, and again, we're looking at car parking around it. It's opposite, almost opposite, Massey's refectory building, and the idea is that we could be holding potentially weddings or functions in that garden, in those oval spaces as we clear them in the arboretums, and then they could be using the facilities across the road. So we've tried to capitalise on the assets that we have without building new ones, and there's a lot of existing car parking around that. Again, artist's impression, they've clad this thing in silver here, and it would probably not be clad in that because we think that might be slightly dangerous to our native birds, but it is an artist's impression. And you can see we've built up that stop bank to create seating, and you can see the lake behind that I talked about before, which was an existing oxbow that we want to restore. So a lot of this is about restoration of ecology as well, and restoring the stream back to what it always has been. And again, Palmerston North doesn't have many facilities like this where you could hold outdoor concerts or outdoor facilities. You can see the refectory building in the background there as it just that slides around. And a lot, this is, there are existing trees. If any of you have walked through the Arboretum, the trees in that space are spectacular, and there's some quite rare and exotic trees in that planting, in that area, so it would look great. So the Massey University Foundation launched a campaign on the 20th of March. So we have announced this publicly that we're building phase 1 of the garden, which will be the filtration zone. The filtration zone has a cost of $10 million to build it, which I think is achievable. The foundation will need to endow another $2.4 million to maintain that space in perpetuity, because of course the university right now is not interested in taking on other costs, apart from not for anything that's not core teaching and research. So we're starting fundraising for this project now, and we've gone out publicly, and we have some reasonable donors lined up to support this. So the hard work has begun. We would love it. PNCC has supported this. I know that PNCC is in a tough position at the moment, but we would love it. I'd love to leave the door open to PNCC to support this further. I think it could do a lot for the community and a lot for the university as we go forward. I think the opportunities for PR and television around this project as it grows are immense as well. So I think it's a good way to draw attention into our region and some of the work that we're doing. Look at that, I'm only on 9 minutes and I've finished. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for having me. Thank you so much, PNCC, for the support that you've given the foundation, because we absolutely appreciate it, and you've been on board with us with many projects, so thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mitch. Are there any questions from colleagues? Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. Just want to clarify, when you say 1 million over 3 years, do you mean 1 million per year over 3 years, 1 million in total over 3 years?
Well, I'd take that, William, but I was thinking 333,000 a year.
Thank you for
would be fantastic.
Councillor Barrett.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Mitch. Just, I've had some feedback from members of the public just that have seen some of these images, and they're interested in kind of how they interface with the stream and specifically flood zones. Can I just get a comment out of you in terms of what's known so far about the design's compatibility with the kind of flooding cycles that we know happen historically in that area?
So again, I can bring in that the master plan is massive and shows all the different flood zones and flood levels, and particularly at Arboretum, where there is potential for flood built around that. There will be flooding, and I think what we need to do is develop a garden that can cope with that. And I think it's about returning to the natural part of the experiment, part of the research, I think, looking at how streams can be managed with flooding rather than building up. And you look at Cyclone Gabrielle and how how badly that was managed. There's an argument that says we shouldn't put stop banks up and we should let streams spread a little bit. And I think there's a very strong argument for that. And I've chatted with Horizons for moving the stop banks into Dairy Farm 1 even. And that in itself would be an amazing research experiment. I'm not quite sure if that's going to wash with Horizons. But so there is flooding, there is danger of flooding, and the plan is to build our pathways, especially through filtration zones around the Arboretum, where they're elevated, where the infrastructure that we're putting in can't be impacted. But it will happen from time to time.
Great, thank you. And just wanted to ask too, just around confirmation in terms of public accessibility and kind of the, I know you're not down to the level of designing signage and wayfinding and all that kind of stuff, but is it meant to be community facing, and how will that manifest?
It is definitely meant to be community facing. And what we absolutely want is the community walking through this garden and into the grounds. I've had a lot of people ask me about wheelchair access, and I said, well, mostly it will be. Te Araranganui probably won't be, but the vast majority of the garden will be accessible by wheelchairs, and the idea is to draw people into it. Massey's it's an incredible space with incredible grounds, and it's remarkable how many people in this town don't even know it's there. So I think drawing attention to the fact that it's there and that it is world class, and that we focus our research a lot around the environment, horticulture, agriculture, veterinary science, is really important, and drawing students into study in that area. You know, so from Massey's perspective, highlighting that is very, very important for us.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mitch. That's our questions done, and appreciate you sharing a very, very exciting project. And yeah, I think it would certainly, as you say, highlight the real green and environmental benefits that are sitting on our doorstep and next to the river, which a lot of the city don't realise are there. Yeah, thank you. All right, so colleagues, we've got our recommendation to council. The council received the presentation for information. I'm happy to move that. Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. I would like to put a second recommendation that we refer this to the annual plan as well. And as simple as that. So without making any other comments or prejudgment, if somebody would be happy to second that. Thank you, Councillor Dennison. And I would encourage the University Foundation to basically put that as a submission into council. I don't think it needs much anything extra other than what you've asked us for. Great, thank you much. So just in terms of comments, I'll just keep it really brief. Thanks to the university for bringing this forward. I think it's great that there's a number of different zones. When I first saw this project, I thought it was so big, I was unsure whether we could achieve it or the university could achieve it. And when I say we, I'm talking the city. It's broken up into zones, and it's great that there's been other partners in it, not only in the design of it, but the likes of Rangitane and others, certainly around that filtration or zone 1. But it brings together the research. Not many people know that New Zealand Seed Bank is here, and all of those things could be brought to the fore. It shows mitigation, it shows how research, ecology to its, bringing ecology right up close to almost to the public and an educational experience as well. There's teaching side of it, but I think it really plays to Massey's strengths as well around the environmental studies, but also the horticultural and the land agriculture as well. So I really like this Perrin Woolshed coffee shop. That could be quite interesting. But yeah, and the amphitheatre could be Palmerston North's version of the Bowl of Brooklands, you know. There's many things there. Just also acknowledging the McCarty family, which are going to have an event very shortly. They donated Bledisloe Park land to the city, and descendants of that family will be in the city in a couple of weeks to there's a dedication stone that will be launched there. So nice little timely reminder of what we've what we've been gifted and what's been on our doorstep as well. I'll open it up if anybody else wants to comment. Councillor Johnson.
Just a question to you first, Mr. Mayor. For your second recommendation, what exactly is your intent behind that? That it's referred as a submission to the annual plan, or that it's referred for funding, or, you know, what are we voting for on that?
Oh, just to encourage the university to put it forward into the annual plan process. Really what we've heard today is a pitch in sense to our annual plan. So making sure that the university, that it doesn't get lost, that it gets put into the process.
So If we vote for that, we're voting for it to be debated for funding during the annual process. Is that what you're saying?
I would say yes.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask that you separate them off then, please? And
Sure.
I'll make a comment. Thank you very much to Mitch and the university for coming in, and I think this is an exciting and valuable project. But at this stage, I'm not going to be prepared to refer it to the annual plan for debate for funding. And I think that that's because it raises a false hope that we might be able to find the funding that they've asked for. And I think in the current environment, where we're having to make very significant cuts into programs and projects that have been running for years, I'm not prepared to be looking for $1 million extra for a project like this at this stage. That's not to say I would never find it in my heart to support it, but I just think in the current environment, it's just a step too far. So I'd rather signal that at this stage than to vote to refer it to the annual plan process and then maybe it result in disappointment at that stage. So, I'll be clear at this point. It's not a project that I'm prepared to support for funding at this point. Thank you.
Councillor Dennison.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have no problem supporting recommendation 2, specifically which I want to talk about. I think it's very appropriate that organisations or individuals come to this table and have the opportunity throughout the year actually to request support for funding. And our natural process is to refer things to our annual plan or our long-term plan budgets to have the debates when we can line up each project against every other. And I see that as being a very appropriate process, and so therefore I feel this is very straightforward. As far as lining it up and predetermining that this is out and others are in, off our annual budget, which was really an indication for year 2 of our long-term planning, and there's more information to date. Our financial environment may have shifted. There's other requests that come in that maybe have now been emerged that weren't ready this time last year to be considered in our long-term planning. So in fairness to every member, this is probably a more general comment. I think it's fair that organisations come and we take a fresh, open-minded look each year at our annual plan budget when we come to debate it in June, May, June. And so that's just a basic premise as a general approach to all decision-makings around financial. Thank you.
Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I ask a question of clarification on item 2 as well? It's my understanding that this kind of grant would be come out of operational funding, not capital funding, but I think it's worth clarifying that for the sake of the debate.
Yeah, to be really honest, I
not a
didn't
question.
really want to have this whole debate. It was just really do that perhaps at the second part. I mean, if you really want to get into the detail, maybe one of the officers, perhaps our CFO can answer that. I was really trying to just get a nice clean process where we have this debate at the annual plan. But if one of the officers could make a general reply, please.
Sorry, through you, Mr Mayor, can you just repeat the question? I only caught part of it, sorry.
It's just my understanding that this kind of grant would be funded through operational spend, not capital spend.
Yes, this would be an operational grant because the asset isn't owned by the council.
Thank you. If I can make a quick comment. I'll be brief, but it is nice to sit here and agree with Councillor Johnson. This would be an operational grant of $333,000 in this year and carrying on into the plan. And so I'm in a similar position to Councillor Johnson. At this stage, I wouldn't be prepared to find that much additional operational spend. You're talking another 0.2% on the rates this year going forward. I think the argument that this is a natural process, that we just have to refer anything that comes across our desk in the lead up to the annual budget and then we'll deal with it all there, I don't agree with. It is absolutely fair that organisations can come and present and make pitches to us, but it is our job to discern which of those pitches makes it into the annual budget process. If Massey University, if this was declined today, are more than welcome to come and make a pitch to the annual budget as well, where we can deliberate and discuss at that point. But I think it is very much an expectation setting exercise, and I'm not prepared to set the expectation that I'm at all thinking we'll be able to find that much money to support the foundation. Not to say that if through the annual budget process they make a submission in line with the other submissions we get, that we can't consider it, but I'm not willing to give that false hope today, so I won't be supporting recommendation 2.
Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry to burst your bubble of hoping for just a quick item here, but it looks like we have got a conversation on our hands. For my view, very comfortable with taking an approach that does see this go through process and get to a consideration in the annual budget. I think it would be rather unfortunate if we weren't to actually give it that opportunity. I think even if in due course there isn't sufficient vote to see investment unlocked at this point, and it's perhaps deferred even indefinitely, it's very, very helpful for those parts of our community that have come here with significant requests over a number of years, sometimes with hundreds of submissions backing. I'm thinking, yes, about the aquatics community, but other examples like that, to actually see some of the other big pieces of potential infrastructure that are being brought to our attention. I think helpful if the presentation and the request for investment goes and is lined up alongside others and not simply left to submission number whatever, 100 and whatever. I would also like the officers to give us a little bit of insight along the way, because I've got questions about how complementary this is to our existing assets. We've already got a lot in the river corridor. I've got questions about where we have capacity constraints there, or whether this might be additional to that in any way. So I think it's a good chance for officers to actually bring some more insight in terms of how this might add value, thinking about it from a network point of view. And finally, we are still enjoying the tremendous benefits of a collaboration with Massey University around Heara Katahi, which was significant. And yes, it required investment, but look at the benefits it is delivering. So I'd like to see us continue to keep this in the mix in terms of things that are considered, debated within the annual budget. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor McLeod.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Mitch, for the presentation. In defense of local democracy, I think I'm of the view that this is a natural process, for us, or for us to actually be receiving this. This is a natural process, and for us to say that because an organization is coming in to make a pitch and asking for a grant or a request from council, and for us to say that the annual budget or the long-term plan are not the natural process for them to go through, what message are we sending to the community? I believe our council should be accessible, irregardless of whatever amount anyone or any organization comes here and presents or makes a pitch to us. We should be accessible. And personally, I haven't made up my mind whether I should support this or not, but I believe that it deserves a conversation. It deserves a debate. It deserves Massey University putting in a submission towards the annual budget. We received many submissions. I remember my first long-term plan here. We received about 750 submissions. And I doubt that anyone probably read all submissions, or everyone read all the submissions. And that could be buried probably in one of the other submissions that might not get picked on or picked up on by any of the members. So encouraging Massey or any other organization to actually put a submission here is actually the natural process. So in defense of local democracy, I don't particularly maybe agree with the amount that we're probably, that's probably before us, because of the financial or economic issues or environment that we're currently in. But like as I mentioned earlier on, just in defense of local democracy, we should encourage every member of our community, every organization to come in and submit. And for that purpose, or for that very reason, I will vote in favor of this to refer this for the long-term plan, or to the annual budget, so we can have a proper discussion on this, have the proper research done, and all the questions, as Councillor Barrett as alluded to earlier on, so we can actually have all the information in front of us and discuss this, and grant not grant the funding based on its merits, and not preempt the process because we probably do not agree in funding this project. As I mentioned earlier, I might not support it, or I may support it, but it deserves a conversation. So I'll leave it at that.
Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wasn't going to jump in on this, but I need to now. I got the impression from the last speaker that we don't look at submissions or take any notice of them or read them. I think the process is we do look at submissions and people come and deliver and speak to their submissions if they want to have an extra voice. And I think that's the place where this lies, in that process, the process that we have in place that we run very well for anybody that wants stuff added into the budget.
Well, thank you, colleagues. I didn't really want to get into a whole debate. I thought it was quite easy about just referring this to a process which already exists that I thought everyone would be quite open to. It seems not. But look, all I want is a debate around this. I think Massey University are a major city partner with a potential city shaping project. We've 100 years of history with this partner. I thought it was a pretty simple process. It seems not. Look, I agree with some of the comments around perhaps not everything should go in, and we're not predetermining we're going to do anything here other than just have a debate and listen to some of the evidence for and perhaps some of the debate around why you wouldn't do it. Not agreeing with numbers, not agreeing with anything. So it's just to be open. So it's a pity that we're a little bit closed off to some of that at times. This is a potentially a city shaping project. I think that we should at least allow it to go the next process and then debate it. So unfortunately, I've opened up a bit of a can of worms there, and I apologise to everybody that thought this probably would have been quite simple. But let's vote. We'll vote on one first, please. And it has passed 15 votes for and none against. All right, we'll now vote on number 2, please. And that has passed 9 votes for and 6 against. All right. Thank you. Right, we'll move through to number 7, which is around recommendation to council around the minutes of the ordinary council meeting of the 5th of March, part 1 public and part 2 confidential. We'll take those together unless anybody wants to split them up. Be confirmed as a true and correct record. I'm happy to move those. Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Are there any matters arising? Being none, we'll vote, please. That's passed 15 votes for, none against. All right, moving through to number 8 on our order paper is the Globe Theatre. And welcome Jerry and John from the Globe Theatre Trust. Welcome, gentlemen. Okay. All right, before we just get into it, gentlemen, apparently Sarah's got something to say, so we'll hear from Sarah first.
Kia ora koutou. Oh, hear me. Kia ora koutou, Sarah Claridge, Governance Advisor. Just to note, there's a correction I'd like to make in the report for the 6-month finances. I think it's section 5.4. It should read, operations over this reporting period has created a cash deficit of negative 27,000, not the 43,000 that was recorded. Thank you.
Sorry, where is that?
Sorry, section 5.4 was it?
Yeah, I'm reading 5.4.
Sorry? Oh, sorry,
not
pardon,
5.4.
4.9.
4.9.
Dyslexia going on.
Okay, so it says here, operations over this reporting period created a cash deficit of 43. You're saying that is
It should be 27.
27. Okay, thank you. Is there anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Thanks, Sarah. Right, back to you, Jerry and John.
Sorry. Morning, Mayor Smith, councillors. I've just got a couple of really brief comments because, as we all know, Jerry could talk enough for all of us. I guess the first thing was we really appreciated the status of an exempted organisation that the council has granted us, and the board will have no problems complying with the altered expectations around that. And we really expect that to free up a huge amount of staff time, which is something that we're always keen to do. And I'd also just like to highlight that we've drawn in about 117,000 from outside funding sources over this period as well. So I'll hand over to Jerry.
Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Good morning, Mr. Mayor and City Councillors and staff. It is our pleasure to present the Globe Theatre Trust's 6-month report for July 24 to December 24 and our draft statement of intent for July 25 to June 28. The first 6 months of the year once again brought a wide and varied selection of shows and events to the theatre. When compared with our last 6-month report, we saw theatre usage increase by 16%, while theatre performances dropped by 18%. This drop in performances can be attributed to a number of shows either being cancelled by the performers and organisers, and some shows having low sales and theatre management engaging with those performers with a view to postponing and returning at a later stage. However, that drop in performances doesn't take away from the fact that we still hosted 141 performances over 6 months, which is still on par with the last 7 years of theatre operations. 141 performances over 6 months equates to 1.5 performances every 2 days. There are many theatres in New Zealand who would love stats like that. In keeping with our role as a community theatre, 87% of usage and 74% of performances came from community groups. As mentioned in the report, we enjoyed a wide and varied range of shows and events. Theatre was 31%, music 30%, comedy 13%, presentations and workshops was 11%, dance 7%, film 5%, and other was 3%. Notables for the 6 months were New Zealand Blues Roots and Groove Festival, the first one without Roger Fox, Palmy Drag Fest and Spanky Jackson, Graham James previously performing in Globe 2 and selling so many tickets we had to move him to Globe 1, Irish comedian Ed Byrne. There's a funny story about Ed Byrne. I was side stage chatting to him during the opening act, and he asked me, where are we going out afterwards? I said, Ed, it's a Sunday night in Palmy. It's either my house or the Globe Bar. We ended up at the Globe Bar. We received $20,000 funding from Line Foundation and Pub Charity to enable us to purchase conference tables and chairs. And as John mentioned, we received $117,000 from Central Energy Trust for sound and lighting equipment and some other upgrades. We upgraded the theatre internet and Wi-Fi capabilities. We made the top 3 again for the Evans Small Venue of the Year award, losing out to the Turner Centre in Kerry. We have signed up with the Evans Ticketing Code of Practice. Our theatre manager attended the Venue Management School in Australia in November, receiving a 10% scholarship contribution to course fees, and he was also accepted onto the Venue Management Association mentorship program. We said goodbye to Matt Kilsby Holiday as he went off to Teachers College, And we welcomed Emily Smith, who came on board in November and as of yesterday is the new assistant manager of the Globe Theatre. This segues nicely into our draft statement of intent. Our statement of intent is guided by our statement of expectation and by the Oranga Papaioa City Strategy. The statement of intent is a great starting point for our SOI. This is council coming to us saying, we'd like you to look at the following and see how you can contribute. And we think our city's goals are definitely something we want to strive to achieve and contribute to. When asked how do we contribute to the city's strategy, we believe the statistics and factors mentioned in our statement of intent show that we are definitely contributing to this strategy. And let us not forget that in the year 23-24, we set theatre records for usage, performances, audience numbers, participant numbers, and hours of use. We welcome the report from council officers and look forward to meeting with them to tweak our statement of intent with their guidance. We are excited for the coming years. The rest of 25 is looking very busy, and we have already opened our schedule for 2026 and 2027. Thank you.
Great, thanks, thanks John, and thanks Jerry. Really good summary of what's happening in, I suppose, in community performing arts and theatre. No questions of my colleagues, so you've passed. Well done.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right. Now we have some recommendations. Councillors there to the council received the 6-month performance report 1 July to 31 December 2024, attachment 1 submitted by the Globe Theatre Trust. They're that confident they're walking out the door before we voted. We may vote this down yet, John. That council receive the draft statement of intent 25 to 28 attachment 3 submitted by the Globe Theatre Trust, and that council agree that the recommended comments on the draft statement of intent 25-28 outlined in table 3 be advised to the Theatre Trust Board. I'm happy to move that. Seconded by Councillor Isabellan. Look, I think when you look at what we do in community arts and performing arts and providing theatre space, I think if you look at the pure numbers, and I know some do around the table, we get a heck of a lot for 92,000 investment as an operating grant for that community theatre. As Jerry said, and I know because I get a lot of comments from other mayors and other councils around the country, we've got one of the top performing small theatres in the country. And I think that's a real credit to not only the Trust Board, but to the management as well. And the Globe's always had great heritage, great bones. It's always been a really welcoming place to go into. And I know majority of you go there quite regularly. And that's, again, testament to how many things are going on. I think one of the comments you made, Jerry, there's something happening every sort of 2 days. That's fantastic. And congratulations again on what you're doing. But some of the figures are reflective of what's happening just in economic times at the moment, with shows being postponed, outright cancelled. And look, the theatre can't do anything about that. It is what it is. And I know they're really welcoming. They try to take away barriers from community groups and that wanting to use the theatre, all the facilities, and they do their best to accommodate everybody. But there still is a level of being able to pay your way as well, but with very much a community rate. So very happy to move these, and again, well done to everybody involved at the theatre. John, please pass on our thanks to the trustees as well. It's all volunteer stuff really, and it's very much valued by the council, so thank you. I'll open it up for any other comments. Councillor Johnson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and I absolutely agree with your remarks, and thank you, John and Jerry. I just wanted to say that it's easy when you read these successes coming in every year from the Globe to sort of get a bit blasé about it, and we now expect them to do so well. But it is actually quite something that they've been in the top 3 small theatres awards, 2 years running. So I think we can be rightly proud of them, and I didn't want it to sort of just go unremarked that it's another excellent report, it's an excellent result, and it's a huge asset to the community to have the Globe available. A couple of us were there last night, but we're not, Councillor Zabellin, and as the Mayor says, it's a regular thing to be at something that's on at the Globe. So you're at the heart of community performance, and I just want to congratulate you. Thank you.
Great. All right, we'll vote. That is passed, 15 votes for and none against. You can go now, gentlemen. Oh, is he worried about a parking ticket? All right. Okay, we'll move through to number 9 on our order paper, and this is around emergency works with our transport sector. So I'll invite Glenn O'Connor to the table, and Glenn, over to you. Page 75 of your papers, councillors.
Mr Mayor, councillors, good morning. Councillors will be aware that there was extensive storm damage in the transport network in August and September last year. I brought a paper to this table seeking co-funding from council for just under $1.8 million, with half of that expected to come from NZTA. Subsequently, NZTA confirmed 664,000 of that expected funding, leaving a shortfall in the order of $244,000. Since putting that application in, officers have been working with our contractors and our designers and believe we can repair our network within that allocated sum. So we believe that is quite a good outcome. Subsequently, in November last year, there was an extensive slip on Kutarara Road, about 8.5 kilometres in, leaving it behind the slip, if we were to lose a road, a number of private and council assets. Officers pretty quickly put in an application to NZTA to seek co-funding for just under $700,000 estimate to repair that slip. We're very fortunate to receive that full co-funding share from NZTA. So again, a reasonable outcome. What this paper seeks is the approval from council to make up the council share of that Kutarara slip of a budget decrease of $340,000 from an existing council budget, where there was some tender savings in that process. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Glenn. So the recommendations to us is to increase the budget program there around emergency reinstatements by $451,000, and that is part funded by an increase in the capital from NZTA of 111, and then you will internally move some money around and pull some money from another program to backfill that. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay.
No cost to council.
Okay. Could I just ask, because water is important as well. Can you just give me a rundown on how we can pull 340 from another water program? Is it a timing thing? Is that program going so well that we've got some surplus? How does that work?
Mr Mayor, I'll defer to my Three Waters colleague sitting in the chair.
Good morning, councillors. Mike Monaghan, manager of Three Waters. Through the chair, yes, so the Ashurst Water Quality Improvement Programme, we've had a very successful tender process, and the successful tender and contract issue has seen significant savings in what we expected in that programme.
Okay. All right. You've fine. Thank you. Okay. A number of you have bailed out of the questions. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Glenn. Just seeing this process run, like with a weather event, slip in November, it's now April and obviously a while to run before we actually solve the problem. Can you give us a general understanding of kind of how quick we can be on our feet when we need to be? Because to me, just kind of sitting here, it seems like it's potentially quite a long run between an event and a solution.
Certainly does feel that way. We've been working very hard with our partner, Rangatani, regulator Horizons, working through the consenting and the iwi side of the job. What I could have mentioned is literally we've got rocks on site at Kutarara going up at the moment, and we're finalising the design as we go. So there is a balance between maybe doing things properly and working with speed, and I believe we're probably going about as quick as we currently can.
Is there any way that there could be I guess, a general agreement that's kind of in place so that when disaster strikes, like we're ready to go, or is everything kind of bespoke and case by case?
For this event we're talking about, this is a bespoke design. It's not a standard design. If it was a retaining wall where we could pull off an existing design off the shelf, so to speak, we can speed it up. But certainly we want to get the right design for the right job, working through the consenting and with our iwi partners.
Great, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Zabellan.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Glenn. Just in terms of our emergency reinstatements budget, generally, we've increased that budget, but it seems that it's not really even touching the sides of what the actual costs of reinstatement is when an event occurs. So in terms of risk assessment and likelihood, are our budgets likely to continue to be insufficient in the future? Are we expecting this kind of thing to come back to us more often?
I believe if we continue to see the effects of climate change, yes, we will see this more often. Certainly our hill roads, as we tend to call them, that go up into our ranges are under pressure. And the challenge for us as officers is to keep up with the maintenance and ensure that the existing water channels, the drainage structures are working. But yes, we increased our response budget. Is it enough? Very hard to tell, but certainly we made a start to increasing that. On a case-by-case basis, we'll come back to council. I do note that it had been a few years since we had an event of this magnitude, unfortunately, but that's not to say that we don't have another event between now and the end of the year, and maybe one of us back at the table asking for some more money, because what I should have noted is this drains our pool completely.
Right, thank you. I think is it 250,000 per annum at present?
That's correct, and we've gone up to, from memory, 500,000 per annum.
Right, thank you. So that's, from just my read of the last few reinstatements that we've done, that's really barely covering one event. So if another one occurs, we're in a bit of trouble.
I think it's fair to say that the 250 or the 500 is for those minor to medium type events. For the larger scale ones where we're into the millions or the million, it would be my intent to bring back to the table and possibly treat those as a case-by-case basis.
Right, thank you. And your view is a more concentrated preventative approach likely to maybe help us manage the scale of the effects of those kinds of events?
Certainly water is the enemy of our roading network, and especially our rural roads are unsealed roads, so good practices can help. Will they help mitigate slips? Not always, but they are good practice.
Thank you. Sorry for the general questions, but that's very helpful. Thanks.
All right. That's the questions done. Thanks, Glenn. And we have some recommendations to council that we approve an increase in the budget for program 2380 citywide transport emergency reinstatements by 451 to be funded by an increase in the capital revenue of 111,000 from NCTA, B, and a budget decrease of 340 from program 1054 Ashurst water quality improvements. And I'm happy to move that, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Thanks, Glenn, and the wider team, and appreciate the speed and actually how you've gone about this. Look, just further to some of the questions that was from Councillor Zabellan, I think we're how what some of our more rural colleagues put up with eroding network and other networks that really get damaged pretty well frequently. We're quite fortunate that we don't have a lot of gravel roads, although we do have roading networks around Bunnythorpe and up into the hills here that do require quite regular treatment, and probably compared to the rest of the network, a disproportionate amount of more treatment. So I think to get away and do this work within our existing budgets, I think's a credit to the officers, and it's great that to see a tender come under. I don't hear that word too many times, so that's quite good, and I hope the media are seeing the occasional things under budget as well. Can I acknowledge NZTA as well? I mean, we haven't had a great deal of success with NZTA, but it's fantastic that they have funded what is really a dire or emergency for us, and please, Glenn, pass on our thanks to the agency. They deserve that, and we appreciate it. Right, we'll put it to the vote. Thank you. And that has passed, 15 votes for and none against. All right, we move through to our next paper, and that's number 10, page 81, councillors, and this is around the Roxburgh Crescent land classification. And I'll invite Aaron Phillips, our Activities Manager from Parks and Reserves. Aaron, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors. I think I can probably take this one as read. We only got 2 submissions during the process, and the concerns raised by one of the submitters about timing and safety for their development were kind of covered in that hearing fairly well. We recommend that you can go ahead with the classification with those caveats that are listed in the recommendations.
Thank you. There are no questions, so you are released. The shortest presentation on record. All right, councillors, we have some recommendations to council. Because I've got colleagues online, I will read them out, so bear with me. One, that council declare approximately 400 square metres of access leg portion of Part 2, Lot 2, DP 60866, contained in the Certificate of Title WN 31C/75 to be road reserve. Number 2, council declare approximately 584 square metres of point Lot 2, DP 60866, contained in the Certificate of Title WN 31C/75 on and over the stock bank of the Manawatu River Park to be recreation reserve under the Reserves Act 1977. Number 3, the council make the reserve declaration and classifications in Resolution 1 and 2 subject to A, the plan change E, the Roxburgh residential area becoming operative, and B, subdivision of the surrounding land that ensures that the road reserve portion of this reserve declaration is contiguous with the vested road reserve at the time of the subdivision. Number 4, that council note that the precise partition of the area between the road and recreation reserves portions be determined at the time of the subdivision of the surrounding land in order to align with the road reserves created during the residential subdivision. And B, the portion be declared road reserve will require subdivision from the portion that will be recreation reserve. This will be carried out at the time of the subdivision of the surrounding land and associated roads. I hope you all understood that. I'm happy to move that. Second by the Deputy Mayor. Look, again, this has been well debated, documented, and really it's making this particular subdivision and adjoining reserves operative basically and come into being. So happy to move those. And if there are no other comments, we will vote, please. Okay, that's passed 15 votes for and none against. Thank you. Right, moving through to our own elected members' stats, attendance stats from 1 July 2024 to 31 December 2024. That's page 89. We're going to take that as being read. It's academic, so I'm quite happy to move that recommendations to Council receive the memo titled Elected Members Meeting Attendance Stats 1 July 24 to 31 December 24, dated to 2nd of April 25 for information. Moved by myself, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. I won't make any comments other than that you've got good attendance. Well done. We will vote. That's passed 15 votes for, none against. Thank you. Right, moving through to number 12, page 93 papers, and it's around our council work schedule going forward. We're starting to get through a number of those, but there's still a lot to do. So, are there any matters arising to that? Councillor McLeod.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to ask a question to the officers in relation to the civics education annual report, progress report. This has been TBC for a while, I think more than 6 months now. Can I get confirmation from the officer that we're going to get it before the council's pre-election report comes up?
Yeah, Chris Tobic, acting Chief Executive. We don't have the manager of the general manager of that area here today, so maybe we'll come back to you on that question if that's okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question around our health promotion policy. I know that was going to come to us today and it's been delayed for a second time. I was just wondering, I don't see it on the work schedule. Is the intention now that it'll go back to the next community committee?
Mr. Murphy will respond.
Thank you, Kim. Through you, Mr. Mayor, David Murphy, General Manager, Strategic Planning. So that will come to 7th of May, Council meeting.
Thank you. So it'll be added to the work schedule.
It's on the work schedule.
Oh. Apologies. Thank you.
All right. We've got the recommendation that Council receive its work schedule dated the 2nd of April 2025. I'm happy to move it. Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. No further matters. We will vote, please. That's passed 15 votes for and none against. All right, we're going to look at recommendations of committees, and I may ask Councillor Dennison to move this if he could. And this is around number 13. It's around our Risk and Assurance Committee of Part 1 Public of the 12th of March 2025. Councillor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In light of the Deputy Chair's limitation with the audio, I'm happy to move the recommendations of the Audit and Risk and Assurance Committee of the 12th of March for adoption.
Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Wood, thank you. Okay, we'll get that up online. Okay, so we've got there that council confirmed the risk appetite and tolerance levels as noted in section 3.1, 3.2 memorandum titled Setting Council's Risk Management Appetite and Tolerance Levels, presented to the Risk and Assurance Committee of the 12th of March 2025, moved by Councillor Dennis and seconded by Councillor Wood. No comments. We will vote, please. And that is passed 12 for and 2 against. All right, we now through to our last part of part 1 of our council meeting. It's around moving into part 2, exclusion of the public, and for reasons around negotiations and third-party commercial. And I'm happy to move that we go into part 2. If I could have somebody second that. Thank you, Councillor Hancock. And we will vote, please. That has passed, 14 votes for and none against. All right, councillors, we'll have a break now, and to any officers that are coming back for part 2, we'll be back in the chamber at 25 to, please.